Hello everyone, welcome back to Distributed Generation and Smart Grid lecture series. In this discussion we are going to explain about distributed energy resources and different types of DER technologies. As we all know that renewable or non-conventional electricity generators employed in DG systems or microgrids are known as distributed energy resources or micro sources. So one major aim of microgrid is to maintain or to combine all benefits of non-conventional or renewable low carbon generation technologies and high efficiency combined heat and power systems. So the microgrid will consist of mostly non-conventional or renewable based power generation plus combined heat and power systems, CHP power systems also. So in this regard, the CHP based distributed energy resources facilitate the energy efficient power generation by capturing waste heat, while low carbon DERs helps to reduce the environmental pollution by generating the clean power. So the perspective DERs range from micro CHP system based on like fuel cells or micro turbine to the renewable like solar photovoltaic systems and wind energy conversion systems. So why we go for distributed energy resources? Because new engineering technologies, materials and designs are improve the performance nowadays. Now technologies are developed to tap the maximum energy from the renewable based power systems, and constructing new or modernizing existing high voltage transmission lines for centralized generations are expensive and challenging. So upgrading our existing transmission lines is very challenging and it economically not feasible. So it is better to think about more generation from localized renewable based systems. And customer definitely they are demand for reliability. So distribute microgrid will increase the reliability of the service. Then important point is the environmental impact of our conventional power system, power generation. So concerns for climate changes have created a pull of shift renewable energy penetration, and increased policies and regulations to reduce the carbon emissions. So we should develop more kind of renewable energy based distributed generating systems. And distributed energy resource can be built swiftly, and capacity can be added easily based on the incremental demands of energy. You can expand the capacity of the distributed energy resources very easily, and DER systems are capable of providing reliable and sustainable energy to the consumers. So it can provide many services to the utilities and consumers that include standby, or it can be act as a standby or primary generation. It can act as a storage, or it can be utilized for load leveling or peak shaving, etc. And here we are going to discuss about various distributed energy technologies. They can be listed as combined heat and power systems or CHP systems, wind energy conversion systems, solar photovoltaic systems, small scale hydroelectric generation, and other renewable energy sources and storage devices. So these are considered as distributed energy resources. So first we are going to discuss about combined heat and power systems or CHP systems. So CHP or cogeneration systems are most promising as distributed energy resources for microgrid applications. So their main advantage is energy efficient power generation by judicious utilization of waste heat. That is the main advantages. Uh, Unlike a fossil fueled power plant, CHP systems capture and use the byproduct heat locally for domestic and industrial purposes. That is, the waste heat it can be reused and it can be made available to the some kind of heat loads. Heat produced at moderate temperature can be used in absorption chillers for cooling purpose also. So simultaneously you can simultaneous production of electricity, heat and cooling will be occur. So it is known as the simultaneous production of electricity, heat energy and cooling is known as trigeneration or polygeneration. So it is possible cogeneration and trigeneration in combined heat and power systems. So there are three stages to CHP which must occur in a sequence, like a power generation, heat recovery and heat use. And power generated is usually electricity but can also be mechanical power for driving equipment such as pumps, compressors or fans, etc. And by capturing the excess heat, the CHP system allows better usage of energy than conventional generation. The main advantages is main energy efficient power generation by judicious utilization of the waste heat that I already discussed. So by capturing the excess heat, you can CHP system allows better usage of energy than conventional generation, potentially reaching an efficiency of more than 80%, compared with that of about 35% of conventional power plant. That means in your conventional power plant, mostly the efficiency will comes across a 35 to 50%. But their major loss are in the form of heat energy. But in the CHP system, that heat energy can be recovered and utilized for some heat loads. So the entire power plant efficiency will be increased up to 80%. So it is most efficient when the heat is utilized locally. That is, we recovered the heat energy, but it should be utilized in locally. Otherwise, it won't be an efficient system. So overall efficiency is reduced if the heat is to be transported over long distances using heavily insulated pipes, which are both expensive and inefficient. So it is recommended to have utilization of the heat at locally itself. So on other hand, electricity can be transmitted over a much longer distance for lesser energy loss. So it in CHP system, electricity and heat energy are produced, but heat energy we should ensure that that is utilized locally. And electricity production which can be transmitted over a much longer distance. So thus CHP plants can be located somewhat remotely from their electrical loads, but they must be always located close to the heat loads for better performance. So CHP plants are commonly employed in in district heating systems of big towns or hospital, prisons, refineries, paper mills, industrial plants, etc. So, uh, use of CHP plants has been found to lead 35% reduction in the primary energy uses as compared to the conventional power generation. Here you can see that one diagram where conventional generation and combined heat and power generation. You can see that in a conventional generation, boiler and a power plant are separate, and with these two require their own fuel input, and based upon this efficiency, you will get. You can see that the fuel input to the first power plant is if it is a 98 unit, after the 31 with the 31 percentage efficiency you will get 30 unit as output only. In boiler, 80, even if it is having 80% efficiency, you will get the with the 56 unit as input, you will get 45 unit output. So the total output from the conventional generation is 75. So in order to get the same 75 percentage efficiency in a combined heat and power system, you need to give only 100 unit input instead of 154 in the conventional generation. So there is no separate power plant and boiler systems. It is a combined system. So efficiency is increased from 49% to the 75% with the CHP systems. So this is a basic schematic of a or components of a typical CHP system. You can see fuel input to the engine or turbine, then generator which produces the electricity, and heat, hot exhaust gases. From that heat, it is given to heat recovery unit. From that it is given to steam or hot water, and that is given to some thermally activated machines. So byproduct heat can be utilized or recovered to the, and it is given to the some thermally activated machines. Let's see what are the different types of CHP systems. Micro CHP systems. So these micro CHP systems are usually installed in small premises like homes or small commercial buildings. So they differ from the larger CHP unit, not only in terms of their energy producing capacities, but also in matters of parameter driven operation. Most large industrial CHP unit generate electricity as the primary product with the heat as secondary, while micro CHP systems generate heat as the primary commodity with the electricity as a byproduct. That is the difference. This energy generation of a micro CHP system is mainly dictated by the heat demand of the end users. So when we are the need of installing a micro CHP system is those users, they are demanding, they have some sort of a heat demand. So because heat energy generation is the primary commodity there. So because of this operating model and the fluctuating electrical demand of the structures, they operate in micro CHP systems often generate more electricity than which is demanded. So micro CHP systems are basically micro turbine coupled to the single shaft high speed permanent magnet synchronous machines. The speed range is 50,000 to 1 lakh RPM, and these systems are they are provided with power electronic interfaces for connection to the electrical loads, and they have their own heat recovery systems for low and medium temperature heat extraction. These are reliable, robust and cheap systems. They are available in the range of 10 to 100 kilowatt capacity. And there are many advantages of using micro CHP systems. Microgrid can secure the following major advantages by using micro CHP systems that are since the transportation of electricity is far easier and more cost effective than that of heat, so it is much more suitable to place micro CHP plant near to the heat loads than electrical loads. And the scale of heat generation for individual unit is small. So therefore micro CHP plant have greater flexibility in matching several small heat loads. So micro CHP systems are typically for customers, they are having a small heat loads. And the various types of micro CHP systems can be written as micro CHP systems are primarily based on the following technologies: internal combustion engines, Stirling engines, micro turbines, and fuel cells. So we will discuss each of these technologies separately. So internal combustion engines or IC engine. In IC engine, fuel is burnt in air in a combustion chamber with or without oxidizers. So fuel is burned in air in a combustion chamber with or without oxidizers. So this combustion creates high temperature and high pressure gases that are allowed to expand and act on movable bodies like pistons or rotors. And I hope you might have heard about this operation of the IC engines. IC engines are different from external combustion engines like steam engines or Stirling engines. The external combustion engines use the combustion process to heat a separate working fluid, which then works by acting on the movable parts. IC engine include intermittent combustion engines. Example, reciprocating engine. So the commodity mainly used are diesel, gasoline, and petroleum gas, etc. And depending upon the fuel, the IC engine are provided with spark ignition or compression ignition systems in their cylinders to initiate the fuel combustion processes. So that is what is the IC engine. Then Stirling engine. Stirling engine is a closed cycle piston heat engine where the working gas is permanently contained within the cylinder. So it is traditionally classified as an external combustion engine, though heat can also be supplied by non-combustible sources like solar, geothermal, chemical, and nuclear energy. And this type of engine, Stirling engines, uses an external heat source and an external heat sink, and each is maintained within a limited temperature range and has sufficiently large temperature difference between them. And a change in gas temperature causes a corresponding change in its pressure, and the motion of the piston causes the gas to be alternatively expanded and compressed. So when the gas is heated, it expands in the sealed chamber and act on the power piston to produce power stroke. So when the gas is cooled, its pressure drops, and then less work has to be done by the piston to compress the gas on the return stroke. This work difference yields the net power output. So that is what is the operation of a Stirling engine. And this can be utilized for Stirling engine can be economically used as an energy producers for CHP applications that utilizes a heat source in conjunction with the secondary heating applications such as industrial any kind of industrial process. So at least you understand the basic idea about Stirling engine. Then we can move on to micro turbines. This micro turbine are widely popular as generating units. I hope you heard about the micro turbines. Micro turbines are widely popular as generating unit in DG systems as energy producers in the CHP systems, and it is one of the energy producers in the CHP system also. At present, they hold maximum prospect to be used as a micro sources for microgrid. these micro turbines are small and simple cycle gas turbines basically. It produces 25 to 300 kilowatt output. So the output of micro turbine ranges typically from around 25 to 300 kilowatt. And it is available as a single shaft or a split shaft unit. And some of the peculiarities related to the micro turbines are the size. They are relatively smaller in size as compared to other distributed energy resources. And fuel to electricity conversion, they can reach the range of 25 to 30%. However, if the waste heat, if you are using micro turbine itself only, the efficiency is between 25 to 30% only. However, if the waste heat recovery is used for CHP application, the energy efficiency levels are greater than 80%. And system costs are lower than $500 per kilowatt. Cost of the electricity is competitive with alternatives including grid power for market applications. Then fuel flexibility. It is capable of using alternative fuel like natural gas, diesel, ethanol, and landfill gas and other biomass derived liquid and gases. So you can use any kind of fuel in micro turbine. And noise level, it has a reduced level of noise and vibrations. And installation is simpler. Simple installation procedure is. So that are the main advantages of implementing a micro turbine. And you can see a single shaft micro turbine here. Single shaft micro turbine. A single shaft unit is a high speed synchronous machine with a compressor and turbine mounted on the same shaft. You can see the major parts of a micro turbine are turbine, alternator, its power electronic converters, recuperator, control and communication systems. So you can see these part in this single shaft micro turbine. Its speed range is from 50,000 to 1,20,000 RPM. So this single shaft micro turbine, there are another turbines. They are high speed single shaft gas turbine. They are using a high speed single shaft gas turbine. An alternator or generators in a single shaft unit, the alternator is directly coupled to the turbine. You can see that in this figure. So in a single shaft unit, the alternator is directly coupled to the turbine. The rotor is either 2-pole or 4-pole permanent design, and the stator is of a conventional copper wound design. And power electronics components are, you can see that in a single shaft machines, the high frequency AC voltage generated by the alternator is converted to the standard power frequency voltage through power electronic interfaces. You can see the AC to DC and DC to AC conversion here. Generator is given to the rectifier, then rectifier is given to the high frequency inverter, then to the electric power. The frequency range is in the 1.5 kilohertz to 4 kilohertz AC voltage are generated. And you can see that a recuperator here. The recuperator recovers the waste heat to improve the energy efficiency of the micro turbine. That is what is the entire system become CHP because it is utilizing recuperator. The recuperator recovers the waste heat to improve the energy efficiency of the micro turbine. Actually, it transfers the heat from exhaust gas to the discharge air before the discharge air enters into the compressor. So this reduces the amount of fuel needed to raise the discharge air temperature to the required value. So the function of a recuperator is very important in terms of increasing the efficiency of this micro turbine. This is what actually recovering the waste energy or waste heat energy. Then this is the single shaft micro turbine. You can see the figure of a split shaft micro turbine. A split shaft micro turbine. Here we are using a high speed split shaft gas turbine. So in this split shaft type micro turbine, a conventional induction machine or synchronous machine is mounted on the turbine through a gearbox. You can see a gearbox. So it is a generator or induction machine or synchronous machine is mounted on the turbine through gearbox. And you can see in the split shaft design there are not required the power electronic type of converters are not required due to the presence of gearbox. It does not require any kind of a power electronic type converters. You cannot see any rectifier or inverter in a split shaft micro turbine. And a recuperator, as I discussed in the previous single shaft micro turbine, recuperator is used for recovering the waste heat energy. And a split shaft design uses a power turbine rotating at a 3000 rpm and a conventional generator connected via gearbox for speed multiplication. So this figure you can see the difference between the split shaft and single shaft micro turbine, and definitely you require some kind of a control and communication systems in this kind of systems, because control and communication systems include the entire turbine control mechanism, inverter interface, startup electronics systems, instrumentation, signal conditional, etc. So such kind of systems also will be the part of these micro turbine systems. And this is what I explained, various part of a micro turbine and their functions. I have already discussed turbine, alternators, power electronics converters, recuperator, and control and communications.